Hello everyone. Let's talk about fears and how fears, when they are real, can be beneficial as a motivator, and if they are imaginary and left unchecked, can be lethal. So, some of the fears as human beings are fear of abandonment, fear of death, fear of old age, fear of feedback, fear of loss of loved one, and of course, if you are like me, fear of bad lighting. So I've adjusted the curtains a little bit, I've adjusted the light in the room a little bit, then I switched it out, and it still was not good. But I was like, okay, I am going to face my fears and get this video started. Okay. So let's talk about how fear can be an asset. So way back when we were cavemen, if fear was not put into the system, we would have just wandered off into the savannah and get killed by a saber-toothed tiger. Yes, or in the modern context, if fear was not our greatest motivator, we would just keep flipping the remote and see what is next on the streaming channel. Yes. So fear can be a great asset if you understand that you're running away from an avalanche. You're able to predict that something bad is going to happen. You protect yourself. It's more like a survival tactic. And it is also the greatest motivator. That is how it can be an asset. Okay. But what is fear if it is unchecked and if it is chronic and if it is always present? So that is when it becomes very, very dangerous for us. So if you observe that sometimes fears are real, like for a child, it is a real threat of parental neglect if the parent is not nurturing or emotionally positive around them. So the child starts to question everything about their self-worth. That is a real danger for a child. But if an imaginary fear lets a fireman, if it controls the fireman, will he be able to jump into that burning building and save the people who need him? Right? So that is the difference between a real and imaginary fear. Sometimes we also are afraid that things will not work out in our favor because we are attached to the outcome. Uh, if you observe, it's very, very easy to give an advice to a friend. Hey, your boyfriend was not good enough anyway. Just you're better off without him. It's just so easy to give an advice. That is because you're not afraid of the outcome. You're not attached to that outcome of the boyfriend leaving you, because it's not even your outcome, right? So sometimes when we get too deeply attached to the outcome, you want your child to go to a good college. What if he doesn't crack the SAT? Right? What if he doesn't do well in that competitive exam? What will happen? If you're just passively thinking, sitting and thinking, and just like letting things happen to you, of course you have, you're going to be afraid. But if you're actively working on helping out your child and encouraging him to do that competitive exam well, then what is the point in fearing? You have done your best, and you cannot attach your desire to that outcome. You have done your best, and that's what it is. Let's look at fear a little deeply now. Fear is actually the underlying reason for a lot of negative emotions in our life. The reason why we feel a little despondent sometimes, panic, a little embarrassed. We don't easily trust other people. We have this apprehension to get started on any work. We have this chronic anxiety and that restlessness, that thing that you cannot put your finger on. What is that? There's a lot of all these negative emotions. Hate is a big one. Feeling guilty, all these things have that underlying fear as the basis. What is hate? You not being appreciative or afraid of other people who don't look like you, who don't eat the same food that you do eat, the same food that you eat, who don't eat the same food that you eat, who don't dress like how you do, who don't have the same political ideologies as you do, right? So, but this is what is happening when you internalize that fear. All these negative emotions keep popping up, and you build a wall around you of anger, hate, guilt, and all these things to counter the narrative of fear that is brewing inside you. So, what happens when you start internalizing all this fear? You start performing rather than living. That is the biggest problem with fear. So, I want you to take control of your life and ask yourself just this question: what will I do if I was not afraid? What will I do? What all can I accomplish? What is stopping me in my tracks right now? Are they valid, real fears, or are they baseless, imaginary ones? Good luck. And here is a quote that I absolutely love from Mandela. Nelson Mandela says, "May our choices reflect our hopes and not our fears." So I wish you make a choice when you come to that why every single time when you are about to embark on a new project or take up work that has been pending. You are always informed by the hope for the future and not by your fears. Good luck.